show you how to get started with the very basics of using Sketchup to create 3D models. The first thing that you need to do is find your Sketchup program icon. It should look something like this. I think you're using Sketchup 2015 at this point. So it's a red block with like what looks like white stairs maybe coming up out of it. You click on it. The first screen you'll probably get is this. Make sure that you have licensed your software, and you'll know if you've licensed it because right here underneath my mouse it says License To, and yours will say Maine Department of Education. If it doesn't, make sure you see me for the licensing code because that's going to expire otherwise. You'll need to choose a template to get started. There's a button up here that says Choose Template. And for our purposes, because we're designing in the United States, we're going to use Simple Template Feet in Inches. And what you can do is, if you don't want this to pop up every single time, which is kind of annoying, way down here there's a thing that says Always Show on Startup, and there's a check mark on it. You can uncheck that, and then click Start Using SketchUp. Okay? When you first get in here, you have this dude here. I think he looks a little bit like Stan Lee, but I think his name is Steve. And you have these green, red, and blue lines. The green and red lines are sort of the flat ground area, and the blue line brings you up into the sky kind of thing. And they do correspond with X, Y, and Z in math concepts. There is over here a window called the instructor window, and it will show you how to use certain tools. You may decide to leave it on to give you some hints about how to do things, because as you click on different tools, like if I click on the eraser, it will show me how the eraser tool works over here in this instructor window on the side. But because I'm kind of taking you through, I'm going to close it. You don't have to. Okay, I'm going to close it just to help you out with that. Okay, so some things about SketchUp. One thing that you're going to have to think about is, and I'm actually going to get rid of this dude here. I'm going to click once on him, and I'm going to hit the delete key on my keyboard, and he's gone. Okay. One thing about the program that would be helpful for you to remember is if you need to go back a step because you messed something up, on your keyboard you can type Command Z, and it will undo the last step. Okay, and so it put him back. I'm just going to delete him again. Okay, you can get rid of him or you can delete him if you'd like. A lot of people like to delete him. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a rectangle. And there's, if you don't know what any of the tools are, you can just hover over a tool and it will tell you what it is. You can click here and hold, and you can see different shapes that you can make: rectangles, rotated rectangles, circles, polygons, and such. So we're just going to go with a rectangle. Okay, now we're going to start where the green, red, and blue lines meet, just to make things easy. And here's the trick in this program. You're going to want to click one time. You are not holding down the click button. Okay, so you're going to click and let go. Like, take your hands right off of your computer or your mouse. And then you're going to move in a direction. So this is not clicking and dragging. This is just moving in a direction. Okay? And if you look, and I'm actually going to go down here, and I don't want you to click anything yet. If you look down here on the bottom right, you will see there's a place called dimensions. And this right now, my rectangle is 19 feet, 7 inches, comma, which means by. So that's one side. 1 foot, 13 and 16ths of an inch, which is not terribly helpful to us. So you can either click on another corner and then you get a shape. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Or you can specify you can tell it a particular dimension. So I'm going to Command Z this. Okay, I'm going to start my rectangle again by clicking once where all those three lines meet. I'm going to move out and to the right because I want it flat on the ground. And then I'm going to pick my hands right up off the keyboard, so put both hands up. And you're not going to go down and click where it says dimensions. You're going to just start typing. So you're going to type, and I'm just going to move down here just so you can see what I'm typing, but you will not actually be clicking down here. If you do that, it will make your square. Okay? So I'm going to start typing. So I have not clicked. I'm typing 10, and you see how it fills in. Feet is the apostrophe, like the single quote. Okay? 10 feet is one side, and then I want this to be a square, 10 feet by 10 feet. So I'm going to do comma, and then 10 feet again. And then if I hit enter or return on the keyboard, I'll zoom out so you can see, I have a 10 foot by 10 foot square. Now, let me zoom all the way out so you can see. All right, so I'm still in the rectangle tool, So I'm going to switch tools to show you how to move around the screen. The one that's probably the most fun is this one called Orbit up here. It looks like a green and red arrow spinning around. If you click on Orbit, and you'll know that it's selected because it's gray like this. If I now click and drag around the screen, you will see this in 3 dimensions. I can look at it from different sides, which isn't all that exciting because it's just a 10 foot by 10 foot square. Okay, but you can also take 2 fingers if you're on a trackpad and swipe down, and you will zoom out. Okay, and if you take 2 fingers and swipe up, you will zoom in. It will zoom in around the point that your mouse is on the screen. So if I want to zoom in on this corner, I'm going to move it to that corner, 2 fingers, and slide up, and it will zoom in on that corner. If I want to slide out, I can do that. If you ever get so far zoomed in, like I'm going to ridiculously zoom in, okay, there is a button up here that looks like a magnifying glass with red arrows on it. It's called Zoom Extents. It's very helpful. If you click on it, it will pop you back to where the outside edges of your whole drawing are. Okay, that can be helpful for a lot of reasons. Okay, the other thing that can happen is sometimes you will zoom in sort of on the side over here, and my object's kind of over to the right. Okay, so there's a hand tool. If I click on it, this is called Pan. If I click and drag, it's like kind of like grabbing a sheet of paper and sliding it in front of you. Okay, so that's how you zoom in, that's how you orbit, okay, and that's how you pan around. You can also zoom in with the magnifying glass icon here. Okay, so that's just to get you around. All right, in SketchUp, just so you know, once you have a shape, if you use the eraser tool and you erase one of the lines of the shape, if there's a little tiny circle on the eraser tool, if you erase one of those lines, the shape goes away because it's not closed up anymore. You're just left with these 3 lines. Okay, I'm going to Command Z to put it back. Okay, so we have a 10 foot by 10 foot square. Okay, next we're going to make a rectangle that's 3 feet by 5 feet. So I'm going to click on the rectangle tool, and I'm going to click once somewhere in the middle. Doesn't have to be exactly the middle of the square to make one corner. And then I'm going to move in a direction. I'm not going to click a second time. And I'm going to type in, let me just show you down here, and type in 3 feet, comma, 5 feet, enter. Okay, and if your rectangle, if your rectangle came out a little differently than mine, in fact, mine came out all kinds of wonky, I'm going to Command Z that because I was headed in the wrong direction. I'm just going to do that again. 3 feet, comma, 5 feet, enter. You don't want it to go over the edge. If it does, then it kind of creates different shapes. All right, so it may not look like it's 3 feet by 5 feet, but if I orbit around, it looks like this. In this view, it looks like a square. Okay, but it's definitely a rectangle. So don't be tricked by the way your view is, thinking that it may not be right. I'll show you how to make sure that it's right in a minute. Okay, so this is all great, but this is only in 2 dimensions right now. It's not very exciting. Okay, so there's a button over here called the Push-Pull tool. It looks like a box with a red arrow coming out of it up here on the top bar. I'm going to click on it. Okay, and then I'm going to hover over our rectangle in the middle, our 3 foot by 5 foot rectangle. And you notice that it's got little dots showing up on the screen. Okay, so that lets us know this is the area that we're selecting. So if I click on this, I can move it up and it becomes 3-dimensional. Okay, so you can also tell this, I'm not going to click a second time, I'm just moving. Okay, I could go down instead, okay, but I'm going to go up. And I'm going to tell it to use a height of 3 feet, which is 3 apostrophe enter. Okay, and that's fantastic. Okay, if I take the orbit tool and I click, I can actually go up underneath this shape and see what it looks like under there. Okay, now let's say that you had wanted, and I don't think we would want to this time, but let's say that I'm going to undo that just to prove a point. Yours may have come out differently, so let me show you what I mean. If you click here and start to move up 3 feet, you might have this going on. If I go up underneath, there's a hole. See how there's like a hole that goes up underneath? Here's how you take care of that, and I actually was surprised mine didn't do that right away. Before you click on this, it's going to be a little hard to see, but on your keyboard down on the bottom row, there's an Option key. If you tap on your Option key, you will see, and I'll zoom way in on my icon so you can see it. Okay, If you tap on your option key, this plus sign either goes on or off. It's an on-off switch, this option key. If it's on, that's going to make an extra surface. Okay, so I'm going to tap my options key so I have the plus sign. I'm going to click on this shaded area. I'm going to move up and I'm going to type in 3 feet, enter. Okay, and what that does is instead of moving the surface up 3 feet, it's going to create 2 surfaces. So you leave your original alone and it's going to make a copy. That's what the plus sign is supposed to represent. Okay, so you should have a 10 by 10 square feet, 3 feet by 5 feet here. And we're making a doghouse here. So we need a roof. Okay, now you can go to the pencil tool, and I'm going to click and hold on the arrow just to show you that there's 2 options, a line and a freehand. We're going to go with the line. Okay, and starting from what will be the front of the doghouse, we'll call this the front. If you move along that line on the top, you'll see a tiny little blue dot shows up. If you leave your mouse there, it says midpoint. Okay, we want to go from the middle of this line, so I'm going to click once. I'm going to head straight back. Okay, the fact that this, and I'm going to move around to show you, this line might change colors. If it turns green or red or blue, it's letting you know that it's the same direction as your green, red, and blue lines below, because it's very easy to get confused about which direction you're headed in 3D space. So I'm going to go on the back line over here and click on the midpoint back there as well. So now we have a line. Okay, now I'm going to move this line straight up in the air in order to make a roof peak. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to click the 4 red arrows here. That's called move. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I'm grabbing just the midpoint of that new line that I just drew. So right there, I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to move around. I'm just going to show you. I can make this go all kinds of places. I can make it go down. I can make it go to the side. Okay, but I want to go straight up. So to make sure that it's going straight up and not in some weird angled direction, you're gonna want it to say on blue axis. See how mine says on blue axis? That means it's going straight up and down. If yours doesn't seem to do that, you can tap on the up arrow on your keyboard 1 time. And when you do that, it will lock into place up and down like this. Okay, so if that makes you feel more comfortable, you can do that. And we want to go up, but we're not going to click. We're just going to type. This time we're going to type 18 inches. All right, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, whoops, mine didn't do it. So let me try it again. 18 inches. Enter. There we go. I think mine went backwards instead of up. Yes, it did. See how that looked like it went where it was supposed to go and it really didn't? So I'm going to Command Z. No big deal. I'm going to try it again. Grab it by the midpoint. Head straight up. Tap my up arrow 1 time to make sure. Okay. And I'm going to say 18 inches. I think it's not letting me do that. So maybe I'll just make sure I'm on the blue line and then I'll type 18 inches because I think that's what was going on last time. This is new for me. Okay, so I'm going to do move from the midpoint. If yours is working, great. Mine just, for some reason, got a little fussy with me. On blue axis, 18. Shift and quotes and then enter. There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. So to type in 18 inches, by the way, it looks like this. Now, there's a trick in the program, which is if you just type in 18, it will think you mean inches since we're working with feet and inches. Okay? All right, so now we have drawn the basic parts of a doghouse, but this is the problem. This is actually just kind of paper thin doghouse. Okay, there's not actually a thickness to this roof, so we're going to take care of that right now by push pulling. So we're going to use push pull. I'm going to hover over this part of the roof, and I'm going to tap that option key again so that I get the plus sign. I'm going to click once, and I'm going to move in this direction, and I want this to be 4 inches thick, so I'm just going to type 4, enter. Okay, see how we have a roof line there. If we're going to do the same thing over here by orbiting, hitting the push pull, and click there. Make sure your plus sign's on first with your option key. Okay, and I'm going to do 4, enter. Okay, so we get a roof that looks like this. All right, if you don't have a line like right here or right here, then you need to go back and do it again and make sure you have that plus sign on. Otherwise, it will just kind of be stretching your roof instead of making a new surface. Okay, so now let's kind of orbit this so we can look at the top. Okay, I'm going to use the push-pull, but this time I don't want the plus sign. What I'm going to do is close this roof up so it doesn't have this weird gap in it. Okay, so I'm going to tap on the option key to turn that plus sign off. I'm going to grab this shaded area here. I'm going to click once. I'm going to drag it over until, do you see this little red dot that happened? If you use the arrow on top of this icon, this red arrow pointing up, you can align this with a whole bunch of objects on the screen. Okay, so I'm aligning this up with the edge of that roof. So I'm going to click there. Okay, great. Now I'm going to hit escape because I don't want to be in the push-pull tool anymore. I want to change tools. So I'm going to hit escape just to make sure that I'm out of it. Okay, now I don't need this line anymore, and I don't need that line anymore. So I'm going to click on the eraser tool. Okay, I'm going to delete that line. Make sure the circle's in there, that line. I'm going to spin around to the back side. I just made that sound effect. Hope you like that. All right, and I'm going to erase that line as well. All right, now I want to, so we're looking at the back of the doghouse. I want to push-pull this roof out 4 inches. So I'm going to grab it. See how it's all grabbing all at once now? I'm going to type 4, enter. Okay, and just to make sure, I'm just going to peek up underneath. Yep, there's an overhang on the roof. Spin around to the other side, do the same thing. Click here, head this direction, 4, enter. Okay, now we need a door for this doghouse. So, because the dog needs to get in and out. So here's what we're looking to do for a door. We need sort of a rectangle with a rounded top. So we're going to make that with 2 different tools. We're going to use the rectangle tool. So we're going to go back to our rectangle. Click on rectangle, and it doesn't really matter the size of the door to me. You're just going to start down here where it says on edge, okay, because we do want it to start on the ground. And I'm going to click, and then I'm going to head up in a direction and try to get it somewhat centered. Okay, I'm not so great at that, but I'm going to click there. Okay, that looks nice. Okay, now we need a rounded top on top, so we need the arc tool. So between the pencil tool and the rectangle tool, there's a tool called arc. So if I click on it, it's up here. I'm going to use the regular arc tool here. Okay, I think this is the way that it works. So I'm going to start in this corner. The way the arc tool works, or this particular arc tool works, is you do a line first and then you pull the line in the direction that you want it to curve. So I'm going to start the line on this corner, and then I'm going to go to this corner. And now I'm going to move straight up. Whoop, nope, this is a new feature. Okay, I'm going to hit escape because I didn't quite do that right. I'm going to click and hold on the arc tool, and I wanted 2-point arc. So that's a different way of drawing an arc. That's interesting to see. So I'm going to click on this endpoint, click on this endpoint, and start moving straight up. Okay, and I know I'm moving straight up because the blue is there. And if you keep pulling, you'll see one that says half circle. It will snap to a half circle. That's what I want. So I'm going to click there. All right. So now I'm going to push this into the doghouse so that it looks like there's a hole there. Okay, but first I'm going to erase the line so that it becomes one shape, not a rectangle and an arc, but that. So I just used the eraser tool and I did that. I'm going to click the push pull. I'm going to click on this shape. I'm going to head backwards. Okay, and just push in just enough, so don't go all the way through the back, but just push in enough so it looks like it's kind of pushed in. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you something that's kind of sort of cheating. It's not really cheating, but it's going to make it look like this doghouse has like an opening that goes all the way through here. There's a paint bucket tool here. Okay, if you click on the paint bucket, it will let you choose colors on the color wheel. I like using the crayon box because it's easy to just find the exact color I'm looking for. So I'm looking for black. Okay, and I'm going to use the paint bucket wherever the circle is for the paint bucket. I'm going to color the inside of the doghouse so it looks open. All right, looks like it's dark in there, and looks like a dog could go in there and get some shade. Okay, so that's exciting, but there's an even more fun thing in the paint bucket tool. It looks like a little brick. If you click on it, it's called texture palettes. Okay, and when you first get there, it might just say apple. That's not helpful. So if you click on that list, there's lists of all kinds of things. So we would like some, I don't know, roofing for this doghouse. So if you go down to roofing, these aren't just colors, these are actually picture patterns that you can put on top of the doghouse. So you can choose whichever of these you'd like. I'm going to use this one, okay? And I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go to the top of my doghouse, and I'm going to put shingles on my doghouse. I'm going to do that on all of the roof surfaces. So all I'm doing is spinning around, going back to the paint bucket tool and clicking in the area that I want to be painted. Okay, and it remembers the last thing I painted with, which is really helpful. I'm going to spin around on the back also. All right, and paint bucket, and one more surface up under here. Okay, so that's exciting. So now it would be nice if the doghouse had some siding. So I'm going to switch from roofing to one called, I thought there was one specifically called siding, but maybe not. Maybe it's just called brick and cladding. There it is, brick and cladding. So I can choose like this one, for example, the tan siding, or I can choose blue bricks or whatever I want to do. Ooh, that's kind of nice. Okay, and I'll just give you a moment to paint all of that. Okay, and whoops, that's okay. That would have been all right to leave there if I wanted to, but that's all right. Let's see, go here. Okay, we'll do that. So that looks kind of nice. Getting back to my doghouse, but this gray box is a little, oops, missed a side here. This gray box is a little boring. It's too bad that it couldn't be grass, right? Because we're outside. Well, it can be. If you click on here, you go down and there's one called vegetation. Okay, so if you find the one called vegetation, this list is alphabetical, by the way. So if you remember brick, it's going to be close to the top, V for vegetation on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to click V for vegetation, and I don't know, this one looks kind of cool. And I'm going to click on it, and there we go. Now I have some grass. If that's a kind of bright grass, I could change it to that grass. That looks a little more realistic. Okay, so we're going to add a dog dish to this yard over here. So to do that, we're going to make a circle. So if you click and hold where the rectangle was here, I kind of went ahead of you there for a second. If you click and hold the rectangle, the shape tool, I guess it's called, and you go down, you can select circle. Okay, we don't want the circle to be too close to the house or the edge of the lawn, because when you do that, shapes connect and they kind of divide themselves up, and I'll show you how to deal with that later. So out here somewhere, I'm going to click to create the center of where the circle is going to be, and I'm going to move. Okay, and you can see this circle. It should be blue on your screen. And I'm not going to worry about measuring it. I'm just going to make sure it's big enough, but not too big. So I'm going to click here. Okay, that's about right. And I'm going to push-pull the middle of this circle, hover over that, and start moving up until it looks about like the depth of a dog dish. Okay, that's good. Now, I need to make this have water in it, and I need to make it have like a lid. Right now this is just a cylinder, but it doesn't have, not a lid, a brim, like an edge. So what I want is this tool here called offset. And offset lets me, if I click on it, hover over a shape. So in this case is the circle. If I click, you will see a line being drawn. It's the same shape, but it's either bigger or smaller, depending on how I move, than the original on the same surface. So I'm just going to make it so that it has like a slight sort of lip, okay? And I'm going to click there, okay? Now this dog dish looks silly because it's made of grass, okay? So I'm going to change the outside with my paint bucket tool. And I don't know, we'll do, I don't know, let's go with, we can do geometric tiles. Yeah, that's kind of boring. I'll go with brick and cladding again, or asphalt and concrete. Let's do that. I'll do, well, you can do whatever you want, but I'm just gonna do that. Okay, I'm gonna leave the middle green because I'm gonna show you, actually no, I'm gonna color that the same color. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how to make it look like there's water in here. Okay, so if you use the push-pull tool and you grab the middle of this object, so I'm gonna click here. As I move, now see, it thinks that I want to do something with that wall over there. If this happens to you, just hit the escape key on your keyboard, and that will unselect the thing that it thought you wanted, and then you can choose to select the thing you actually wanted. Okay, so I'm going to click there. I'm going to move straight down, but I want to make sure that I have the option key pressed so that I get that plus sign. Okay, so, and I'll show you why in just a minute, but I'm going to move into the dog dish, down a little bit, I think anyway. No, that didn't do what I wanted. I'm going to move down a little bit. Maybe the plus sign is not what I need. Okay, and now if I go to the paint bucket, I just want to show you something special. Under water, The ones that look like triangles, like half and half, are ones that actually you can see through. They're translucent. They're slightly opaque. Okay, so I can click there, okay, and you can see the bottom of the dish even through the water. So that's what I was trying to do. So hopefully your dish looks something similar to that, and I'm just going to zoom out so you can get the picture of the whole thing. Now we need a dog, and maybe even a family, okay? So there is a way, and don't, this is a good time to save your file, because sometimes on these older computers, your file can just boot you out. So go up to File and do Save, and I would name it something like Doghouse Project. Okay, and it's not a bad idea to keep them all in a folder somewhere on your computer that's all labeled so it's you. All right, so now I'm going to add a dog and a family to this. The way that I'm going to do that is I could draw it, which would take a while, but there are objects that you can bring in from an online gallery, so of stuff that people have already made, models. So there's a button here that says Get Models. Okay, it's right here. So click Get Models. Okay, and on Get Models, you can search through the 3D warehouse. Now you can see there's crazy, amazing drawings that people have made here, but I'm just going to search the 3D warehouse for, actually I could do it, yeah, I'll do it here. 2D, I'm going to do, well no, let's do 3D dog. Okay, and some of the stuff you find is not actually a dog, so I'm just going to type in dog, see if I get anything better. Okay, I get a hot dog, I get a dog and a thing. All right, so maybe I need a specific dog, bulldog, or whatever you'd like. Okay, wow, there's a lot of things that are not a dog on my search. Let me see. Oh, here's one. Okay, just find one you like. If you click on it, okay, it's going to give you a preview of what this looks like. Oh, isn't he cute? Okay, and I can click where it says download over here. Okay, download this model. It'll ask me, do you want to load this directly into yours? And you click OK. And then give it a second, depending on how fast your computer is. Okay, and then as you move around the screen, you'll see your object should be attached to that. Okay, I'm going to use my, you see I've got the move arrows here. I'm going to, I'll zoom in to show you. I'm going to align it with the edge of my grass, okay, so that he's actually lined up. So I'm going to click there. And the reason I did that, and you see this box is here, if you want to adjust the way he looks, okay, like where he's turned in, you see this blue box? This is like a group of all those shapes together. If I hover over, like say the top of this box, you see these little red plus signs, okay? If I click on one of those, I can rotate him in this direction, okay? If I do it on a different side like this, I can make him roll over, okay? Which you may not want to do. All right, so I hit Command Z to put him back, and if I did it on this side, he would go put his nose straight up in the air or something like that. All right, so that's how you're going to adjust those things. All right, I will show you one other thing. There's a second way that's a little quicker to getting people and objects rather into your drawing. So I'm going to go to Window. There's one called Components. Okay, and over here it shows you ones that are already in your drawing or were. There's Steve. Okay, and it says 3D warehouse. I'm going to just type in 2D family. Okay, and see if I get one. And then searching through other people's drawings. You can add your drawings to the warehouse as well. Okay, family of 3. Okay, so if I click on the words family of 3, it's going to bring me to that page where I have a bunch of information about who made the drawing, all that stuff. If I click on just the picture, it will bring it directly into my drawing. Here's Stewie, even a 2D Stewie Griffin from Family Guy. I could do that. All right, but I'm going to do family of 3. Well, let's do Stewie Griffin. Let's see what he's up to. Okay. There's Stewie Griffin. Now, Stewie Griffin is huge compared to the rest of my drawing, so I'm going to show you how to take care of that. So, he's looking menacing, isn't he? So I'm going to click right there to place him first. Okay. Now, he's ginormous, like I said. All right. So, sometimes you need to do what's called scaling, which is to make an object bigger or smaller. So, up here, beside the tape measure, there's a button called Scale. If I click on it, it changes this bounding box, okay, to have these green corners. If I grab one of the green corners, don't grab the sides, okay, but make sure you find a corner of the box. And if I click and drag inward I can shrink Stewie. Now he's not where I put him before because I had to resize him, okay? And you might need to zoom in and do it more than once, okay, to get it to the size that you want him to be. All right, and I'll do it a little bit more. Okay, great. So now I can hit escape to get out of that tool, and there's Stewie looking like he's going to do something menacing to this dog, or a horrible trick of some kind. All right, so I'm going to click on move, and I'm going to click on him. I'm going to grab him and try to move him in the right place. Now, see how his feet seem to be buried? Okay, I'm going to put him back here just to show you. Okay, when you grab an object like this, it's best to grab it from one of the corners of the bounding box if you're going to move. Okay, so I'm going to grab it by the corner down here. And so because I grabbed it by the corner, it should be easier to move up and down and stuff like that. Now, he's still buried in the dirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click once on him, and then since I want him to move up and down and not left and right and back and forth all at once, I'm going to tap once on the up arrow, and that will force the program to only move up and down. Okay, so I'm going to click there. By the way, Family Guy is copyrighted, so you know, just I didn't come up with that, somebody else did. All right. Now, these 2D objects, if you orbit around, Stewie is always looking at you, no matter where you turn. That's how 2D objects, like the flat objects, are meant to be used in SketchUp. The bulldog doesn't change where he's looking. He's always looking front. Stewie's always looking at us. Okay. So I'm actually going to move Stewie off to the side so I can do dimensions with you. Okay. There we go. All right, so now we got to check our measurements, and we're done this project. Okay, so to check measurements, you actually have to turn on a new set of tools. And in order to do that, you're going to do this a lot in the course. You're going to go to View, and you're going to go to Tool Palettes, and you're going to do Large Tool Set. Okay, and it opens up this tool set here, which has a lot of the tools we have been using and some that we haven't been. So you would think in order to measure something, you'd use the tape measure. But right beside the tape measure is what we actually want, the one that has a 3, and it's called Dimension. Okay, so we're going to click on Dimension. The way dimensioning works is we need to know that this doghouse is 3 feet wide, because that's what we told it. So we're going to click on one end point. I'm going to go across, straight across, and click on the other end point. And if you move your mouse around, especially if you move it off the grass, it's easier to see, you'll see that that says 3 feet. And we're going to click one more time to place it on the screen so we can see that. Okay? I'm going to click on the dimension tool again because I want to do the 5 feet going the other way. Now you might have to rotate your views around in order to get these visible. Okay, so it's 5 feet long. You can see that here. Okay, it's a little tricky because of the color I chose. All right. The next thing you'll need to dimension is the height. Okay, now I only want from the brick down to the brick. I don't want the actual roof height included in that. That's separate. So I'm going to click on Dimension. I'm going to click on the ground where that was, and then I'm going to make sure that I zoom way in to make sure that I'm only getting the brick. Okay, and you can see, maybe if I pull way off to the side, you can see that it's 3 feet tall. Okay, and you may have to pull in and out your camera view in and out in order to see all that. Okay, and we'll do this one up here. Okay, this one is probably the trickiest one. I'm going to turn on the dimension tool because I want the roof peak. So I'm going to start at the peak of the roof, but I got to make sure I'm up underneath the peak of the roof where the brick is again. So I'm going to click there. So I might have to zoom way in. Whoops, not that far. Okay, and then I'm going to click down here. Okay, and what I want to show you is as I move around, if I move in a circle, this dimension will change. See that? 2 foot, 1 7/16 and 1 foot 6. Okay, it's measuring different directions. So this is horizontal, left to right. This one is up to down, vertical, and this one is diagonal. Okay, so I want the vertical, and I want it like this: 1 foot 6 inches, which was the 18 inches we typed in. That's the same thing. Okay, and then the very last one is the thickness of the roof. Okay, so the thickness of the roof, I'm going to click on the 3 again, and I'm going to click here and here, and then depending on where I move, it should be 4 inches. Okay, if I move up here, it's going to just be 2 3/16, okay? 13/16, so I want it to say 4, okay? Now, the trickiest part probably of this whole project is, we got to stamp our work too, I'll show you that, is trying to get a view where most of the dimensions are showing. You might have to take more than one picture, and I'll show you how to take a picture in a second. But first, I want you to label your work so that we know it's yours and no one else is going to claim that it's theirs, because you deserve to get credit for the work that you do. So here's what we're going to do. This is kind of like putting your name on your paper. So you can do this each time. So there is a button down here called 3D text. It looks like a thick letter A, not the A1, but thick letter A. And it will ask you to type in, and I want you to type in your name. So I'm going to type Mr. Bailey, and I'm just going to click place, okay? And then you'll get 3D text, and you could put it on the side of a building or on the roof of your building or whatever. Just make sure you're not covering up anything important that I need to grade, okay? And I'll put mine on my roof. That sounds fun, okay? And then if I hit escape, that blue bounding box will go away, and so now you see that it's Mr. Bailey's doghouse, okay? Now, to pass this in, all you need to do is zoom in to where you're happy with the view. See, I can't really see my 1'6" here, so I'm going to have to take a couple pictures, okay? So to take a picture on your Mac, you're going to hold down Shift and then Command, and then you're going to tap on the 4 key. And when you do that, your mouse changes to a square. Looks like a little target. If you click and hold and drag a box around what you would like to take a picture of, the crosshairs here, let go. You might hear a camera noise if your sound is turned on. And then you will have on your desktop a picture file called screenshot, right here, screenshot with the date and the time, okay? And that's what you're going to actually hand in to me, okay? And like I said, you may need to have more than one in order to show all the things you need. So that's all you need for a 3. For a 4, off to the side, like over beside this on a new plot of land over here, or you can just start a new SketchUp file. I want you to design your own doghouse for me that kind of shows off what you can do with the new tools that you've just learned. Okay, so it doesn't have to look anything like this doghouse. It does have to be a doghouse, but you could add something cool to make it a really neat doghouse. Okay, don't forget to save your file, and I'll see you on the next assignment. Good luck.